I played Black Ops 6 recently, and I was pretty impressed by how action-packed it is, delivering that classic Call of Duty experience with a mix of exciting campaign missions and addictive multiplayer modes. The shooting mechanics feel super smooth, and the graphics are really impressive, making the battles feel intense and realistic. However, the campaign story felt a little too familiar, and I was hoping for more surprises. On the multiplayer side, the progression system is fun, but it can feel a bit grindy at times. Still, if you're looking for a fast-paced shooter, this game won't disappoint. It's just one of those games that's perfect for blowing off steam.
Keep 'em off! Let's
Dragon Age: The Veilguard is a fantasy RPG that takes you on an epic journey through a world full of magic, powerful enemies, and choices that actually matter. The world building is fantastic, with beautiful landscapes and detailed environments that make exploring a joy. I was really impressed by how your decisions impact the story, giving you a sense of freedom that makes each playthrough unique. The combat is fun and strategic, letting you mix spells and attacks for powerful combos. However, I did find some quests a bit repetitive, and there were minor bugs that broke the immersion. Still, it's an epic adventure that's hard to put down once you start. It's just one of those games that keeps you hooked from beginning to end.
Watch out! On it!
I played Dragon Ball Sparking Zero recently, and I have to say, it's one of the most action-packed Dragon Ball fighting games I've tried. And what's really awesome is how it captures the intensity of the anime battles with destructible arenas, flashy special attacks, and a massive roster of characters. But while the visuals are great and the combat feels exciting, the controls can be a bit clunky at times, especially when trying to chain complex combos. The story mode is fun, although it doesn't add much new to the Dragon Ball saga. But if you're looking for a game that lets you experience the epic battles of Dragon Ball, this one's definitely worth a try.
Get some! Get some!
Helldivers 2 is a tactical co-op shooter that throws you and your squad into chaotic battles against alien creatures across different planets. The game's focus on teamwork makes every mission feel intense, and the friendly fire mechanic adds a unique layer of strategy where you really need to watch your aim. While the combat is exciting and the sense of camaraderie is strong, some missions can start to feel a bit repetitive, and the sudden difficulty spikes might catch you off guard. Still, if you love a mix of strategy and action with friends, this game is definitely worth checking out. Marvel Rivals is an action-packed fighting game where you get to play as your favorite Marvel heroes and villains in epic one-on-one battles with cool moves and special abilities. The combat feels really smooth, and each character has a unique playstyle that makes fighting exciting. I loved how detailed the graphics are, and the animations look fantastic, really bringing the characters to life. However, the story mode felt a bit short, and I wanted more content to explore. The multiplayer is fun, but the matchmaking can be a bit uneven at times. Still, if you're a Marvel fan, this game is definitely worth checking out. It's just one of those games that keeps you hooked for hours.
That's 3! Wow, 4 in a row! 5!
Nine Sols is an action platformer set in a fantasy world inspired by Asian mythology. I really loved how the hand-drawn art style makes every scene look stunning and gives the game a unique atmosphere. The combat is so much fun because you get to use sword fighting and deflection moves that make every battle feel exciting. But there were some platforming sections that felt a bit too challenging because they needed really precise jumps. Although the story is quite interesting, I felt like it dragged in some parts, but even with these minor issues, it's definitely worth playing if you're into action games with beautiful visuals and a good story. Rise of the Ronin throws you into a really cool version of old Japan, where you're a samurai without a master, and it's a big open-world action game. The fighting is the best part. Seriously, you can switch between different sword styles like it's nothing, and it looks awesome. But the story can get a bit confusing, like they tried to put too much stuff in at once. And while wandering around the world is fun, some of the side missions feel a bit repetitive. Still, when you're in a big fight doing all those cool samurai moves, that's when the game really shines. Silent Hill 2 Remake is a survival horror game that brings back the haunting story of James Sunderland searching for his wife in the eerie town of Silent Hill. And it does an amazing job of updating the atmosphere with stunning graphics that make everything feel more terrifying. The sound design is top-notch and really adds to the creepy vibe, keeping you on edge the whole time. I love the emotional storytelling, but the combat still feels a bit clunky, which can get annoying during tense moments. Still, if you're into psychological horror and don't mind some dated mechanics, this remake is definitely worth checking out. Stellar Blade is an action RPG that throws you into a futuristic world with fast-paced combat and stunning visuals that really bring the game to life. I loved how fluid the combat felt, and chaining together combos was super satisfying, especially during the boss fights, which were both challenging and fun. The environments are beautifully designed, and exploring them was a treat. The only downside for me was the story, which didn't feel as deep as I hoped, and the characters weren't very memorable. But if you're here for the action and visuals, this game really delivers. It's one of those games that's just a blast to play, even if the story doesn't stick with you.
Let's get this over with.
Unicorn Overlord is a tactical RPG that mixes strategy and fantasy storytelling, and it does a really good job of making you feel like you're leading an army in this magical world.
Be safe.
The art style is beautiful, and the battles are pretty fun, especially with the different units you can use. I really like the mix of turn-based combat and the story choices that change how things play out. However, some parts feel a bit slow, and it takes a while to really get into the flow of the game. Still, if you enjoy tactical RPGs with a rich story, it's definitely worth playing.
That hurt?
I've arrived.
Don't keep